I'm Larry Barton, President and CEO of Strang Architects, Engineers, and Interiors, and I've been a supporter and a volunteer at United Way for over 30 years. And to understand why I care so much about United Way, I have to start with my childhood. I know what it's like to experience poverty, hunger, homelessness, and many of the other challenges United Way supports in our community. You see, my father struggled with alcoholism for much of his life, and the stress and the abuse was too much for my mother, and she left when I was 7 years old. My father moved to Texas with my brother and I, where we spent the next 5 years moving in and out of barely habitable housing. We're living with strangers while my father struggled to hold a job. We lived out of a car many times when we were in between apartments, and we frequently stayed at homeless shelters. We were always utilizing public outreach programs like pantries and social services and meals at local churches. We even begged for money and shoplifted for food when times were especially dire. Due to the intense heat of summer in Texas, my brother and I would often sleep in the city park, which was cooler than sleeping in a car. When the neighbors reported this, my brother and I were taken to a juvenile facility where we spent the next 3 months while our father sought treatment and regular employment. I've rarely shared this part of my past, mainly because I've always been somewhat embarrassed, and I never know how people will perceive it. Plus, the last thing I want is people's pity. Unfortunately, this story has a happy ending. My father quit drinking, he found a steady job in Wisconsin, and he retrieved us from the juvenile center. He didn't touch alcohol for the last 40 years of his life. Life stabilized for us after that, although we remained lower income, continued to utilize food stamps and other programs that were available. We're certainly proof that people can recover from poverty and homelessness and lead productive lives when given a hand up. And that's really the point of me sharing this story. I'm convinced that we never would have made it without the support of literally dozens of organizations working together to help us along. And that's what United Way does so well. I don't want anyone in our community to feel embarrassed about their current situation. And I want everyone who's struggling to feel supported and have faith that their future can be brighter. That's the power of many working for all. And that's my why. Please give with your hearts and support the United Way campaign.